Ruslan.
There's been some accusations made about me on the interwebs and the internets. Things like I straddle the fence on certain issues, accusations of being woke or a cultural Marxist or a CRT apologist, all kinds of things about me being lukewarm on sin, just in my opinion, nonsense. So we're gonna do a reintroduction of sorts. Okay, we are going to just get to know each other a bit more so that you guys know exactly where I'm coming from. You guys know exactly what I believe about all these topics, and there's not gonna be any confusion. Okay, so it's crucial that you watch till the end of this video. Don't be one of those people that like halfway watches something or halfway listens. Don't be that person and you form just a misinformed, misrepresentative position on something that you really don't know about. So let's just watch till the end, okay? And I'm gonna give you guys additional resources on all of these different things. Okay, so we're gonna address it one by one. The first thing we're gonna talk about is obviously the big picture, my views on God and my views therefore on scripture and my theology and all that kind of stuff. So I'll give you guys a very basic classical apologetics approach and my personal approach on how I came to faith. So first we got to start with the notion that I believe God exists. If God exists, the second point that I believe that therefore miracles are possible. Okay, if God exists and God set the order of the universe in motion, miracles are possible. Miracles are possible. Therefore, the New Testament is reliable. If God exists, miracles are possible. If miracles are possible, then God preserved the New Testament. They're historical, they're reliable. And if the New Testament is reliable, therefore, I also believe that Jesus bodily rose from the grave. It wasn't a metaphor. It wasn't an allegory. I believe the historical Jesus rose from the grave. This is the cornerstone of my faith. These ideas right here. And if Jesus rose from the grave, well then, what Jesus said about God is true. What Jesus said about the Torah is true. What Jesus said about the prophets and the law is true. That is what my position is. And we're going to get into more of my story and how I arrived here in a minute. But here's the caveat to all of this. Okay, here's the caveat to all of this is that if these things are true, it should call us to action. See, I'm not one of those people that's just like, oh, theology and head knowledge and abstract ideas that never cause me or force me to do anything. I believe that if all of that is true, if God exists, miracles are real, the New Testament is reliable, Jesus literally rose from the grave, he split eternity in two. I believe that this should look like actions. If these things are real, they should look like action. And what am I talking about? Well, if all of this is true, it should compel us to live as if it is true. Right? If all this is true, then our lives should look different. The way we treat people should look different. The way we interact with our enemies should look different. Okay? And what does it all come down to at the end of the day? How should it look different? We should be distinguished by how we love God and love people. Here's the passage, famous passage from Matthew. Teacher, which is the greatest commandment in the law? Jesus replied, love the Lord your God with all your heart and with all your soul and with all your mind. This is the first and greatest commandment. And the second is like it. Love your neighbor as yourself. All the law and the prophets hang on these two commandments. Okay, so what does this mean? That means that if you are claiming to be a follower of Jesus, what should distinguish you from everybody else? The two most important things is to love God and love people. Love God, love people. Jesus said that the world, this is in John, that the world will know that we are his disciples by our love for one another. Okay, so it's gonna come back down to love. What is love? Read 1 Corinthians chapter 13. Love is kind, love is patient, love is not envy, it is not boast, right? We all know what love is. Love is not just a feeling, love is a choice. The world is gonna tell us that, well, you know, love is God. And no, we say no, God is love. You guys like, Ruslan, what's the point? I'm gonna get there because we're gonna address all the shenanigans, okay? We're gonna address all the shenanigans, okay? But before we get into that, I have to jump over to Ecclesiastes and let you know that in a lot of issues, a lot of the conversations we're having, this is my framework, okay? One of my favorite passages from the book of Ecclesiastes: do not be over righteous, neither be over wise. Why destroy yourself? Do not be over wicked, and do not be a fool. Why die before your time? it is good to grasp the one and not let go of the other. Whoever fears God will avoid all extremes. I believe the biggest threat to Christianity within the last 100 years is an extreme radicalization and fundamentalism that wants to draw hard lines where there aren't any to divide. We have over 40,000 different Christian denominations. And so people want to do this to me. They want to draw hard lines. They want to say, oh, well, Ruslan, you're this way, you're that way. We're part of this camp, you're part, right? And it's like, listen, I'm going to avoid all extremes, but my life and what I promote and what I talk about is going to look very clear and very distinguishable from those who are living in the world, okay? So I want to be clear that I'm coming from this. Those who fear God will avoid all extremes. If you are extreme in your views, respect, you're welcome here. You're welcome to watch, you're welcome to engage, but you must know that's not the angle I'm going to be coming with. If it was about my thriving and my flourishing on YouTube and me making as much money as I can, I could just make a ton of videos being extremely against a topic like false prophet exposed, false teacher exposed, this person exposed, this politician. I could do that in my sleep, and that would actually be in the best interest of my channel growth, of my niche, my micro tribe. I try to have nuanced conversations. I try to avoid all extremes. Now, there are certain things that are black and white, okay? So I get this question like, Ruslan, do you believe in objective truth? I hear you come down on fundamentalists, but are you saying that there is no fundamental truth? There is no fundamental doctrine. No, we just went over the fundamental doctrines. I just went over that. The New Testament's reliable. God exists. Miracles are real. Jesus bodily rose from the grave. Okay, I believe all that. Salvation by grace through faith. All the essential things. But when it comes down to the minutia, and we start getting into racism, we start getting to what is sin versus what is a wisdom issue, wokeness, politics, I avoid extremes except where the scriptures are clear. Okay, except where the scriptures are clear. So if you're here, coming from a different framework, you're welcome to watch. But just to keep it a buck, if you're here, you're on that Spencer Smith energy, if you're on fundamentalist energy, if you are looking for someone to be against, if you're looking for something to call out, you're probably not gonna like and stick around this channel very long. Okay, I'm just gonna keep it back with you. Ruslan, you straddle the fence on sin. You're lukewarm. You are okay with listening to Joe Rogan and Dave Chappelle. You've said that you listen to secular music. You've said you've even done deals with Interscope Records in the secular music industry. Oh my gosh, you're so lukewarm. Okay, let's get into what sin is and what are wisdom issues, because there is a difference. There is a difference. And so many of us just want to jump right in and assume everything is black and white. And here's the deal. If you read the scriptures, if you read Romans 14, if you read 1 Corinthians 8, not everything is a black and white sin issue to you, okay? Maybe it is to God because God knows the heart and the intent, but a lot of this stuff is going to be subjected to situation and person. What am I talking about? Let's talk about sin versus wisdom issues. When you say I'm straddling the fence, let's just be clear what we're talking about. Sin is murder. Murder is bad. Murder is always bad, okay? Plotting to kill someone and killing them for whatever reason you want is murder. That is bad. That is an absolute law of God. That is a law of natural order. It's bad. Murder is bad. It is always bad, okay? Now, what is a wisdom issue? Conflict. There can be healthy conflict. There can be unhealthy conflict. There can be good tension. There can be bad tension. There could be a good exhibition of boxers or MMA fighters, and then there could be someone just bullying somebody and beating somebody up. This is a wisdom issue. You have to have wisdom with who you're going to be in conflict with. Not all conflict is good. Not all conflict is bad. Conflict is a wisdom issue. Murder is sin. Conflict is a wisdom issue. Now, sexual immorality. This is a sin. I said, y'all be acting like I be playing the fence on sexual immorality. I'll make it clear, again, for the gajillionth time. I believe that any sex outside sexual intercourse, sexual relation, anything outside a one man, one woman marriage is outside of God's intent for his people. Okay, I believe that. Sexual immorality. I have a biblical Christian sex ethic. Sexual immorality is sinful. It is what it is. You're falling short of God's desire for you, of God's ways of doing things. Here's what's a wisdom issue, and a lot of you guys are dealing with. Shout out to all the single people. Your sexual desire is a wisdom issue. How are you going to channel that sexual desire? What are you going to do with that sexual desire? Your sexual desire is not sinful. You desiring to have a spouse is not sinful. You desiring to be married and have sexual intercourse and enjoy the blessing of sex is not sinful. It is good. God wired you that way. And what we do sometimes in the church is then instead of saying sexual immorality is sinful, we say, well, sexual desire is sinful. And it's not. You're misattributing what's sinful and what's a wisdom issue. Sexual desire is a wisdom issue. You have to be wise with how you channel your sexual desire. You have to understand the nuance in that, okay? So let's keep going. Other issues. The world system. Romans talks about do not be conformed to the ways of the world. There is a way that the world does things, okay? The world, when it talks about don't be worldly, this is the way the world does things. The world does certain things that are not aligned with God's ways of doing things. This is fairly obvious, okay? This is the sin in our heart. We project it on other people. We abuse other people. The world system is sinful. It is in opposition with God. Culture. What is culture? Someone's customs, someone's food, someone's style of dress, how different cultures dance, in and of itself is not sinful. Some of you guys think that everything that isn't Christian culture, and there is a Christian culture, by the way, there's an evangelical Christian culture, there's an Ethiopian Christian culture, but some of you guys think that anything that isn't exclusively Western evangelical culture is sinful, and anything outside of evangelical culture, anything outside of evangelical culture music, you know, those worship songs to Jesus where there's like 5 guitars on stage and it's the same 3 chords. You think any music outside of that, because it's from a different cultural context, is sinful. And I'm telling you, it's not. It's wisdom. Can culture be corrupted by sexual immorality or murder or whatever you? Yes, okay? But culture in and of itself is not sinful, okay? When we're talking about the world system, don't be worldly. It's about conforming to a world system, a world's way of doing things. When we're talking about culture, when we're talking about celebrations, how different cultures do weddings and birthdays and all these different things, that is a wisdom area, not a sin area. Some of you guys got it conflated. The legalism's creeping out. You're welcome here, but you're probably not gonna like the type of stuff that comes from this channel. And I just wanna be transparent with you guys, okay? Idolatry is sinful. Idolatry, putting anything in the place of God, is sinful. Even putting, I don't know, theology or church or ministry in the place of God is idolatry. Putting any of these other things, culture, sexual desire, conflict, in the place of God. When we're talking about what is sin, idolatry is absolutely sinful. Anything that is coming before you and God is an idol and it is sinful. You shouldn't do that. God has an order of how he would have us live. Now, what is wisdom? Music and media. Music and media. Okay, music and media is wisdom. The type of music is wisdom. Can you consume any genre of music? Sure. Can you watch podcasts from non-Christians and Christians? And like, sure. It's a wisdom issue. And somebody messaged me today that asked me if they can listen to non-Christian songs. And I was like, well, it depends. And they were like, well, what about, whatever random song? And I said, well, I don't know, a song like Crazy in Love by Beyonce and Jay-Z. And they're like, yeah, I think that song, I could never listen to it. I said, you know what? We danced to that song at my wedding, and I think I've danced to that song at every wedding I've ever been at, okay? Crazy in Love is something I've danced to multiple times. It's a secular song, but I've danced to it at weddings. Some of you guys are freaking out. Oh, Ruslan danced to Beyonce and Jay-Z. I'm just trying to be frank with you. This channel may not be for you. You're welcome to watch, but if that's an issue, I want to put my cards on the table so there's no confusion. No genre of music, no genre of media, no specific tone, no specific chord, no specific instrument is in and of itself sinful. Now, would me putting a video of me dancing to, Crazy in Love and my wife dancing on me in a way that some of you guys, may find inappropriate, would me putting that on my Instagram be wise? Maybe not. Maybe not. Maybe that's not wise, right? However, it's not in and of itself sinful. Okay, so hopefully this is making sense. Now again, music and media can glorify sin, and then you have to use your discretion. You have to use wisdom to say, is this for me in this season? Okay. So again, I'm just trying to give it a buck. Here's another one. Greed. Greed is sinful. Being in a place where money is your God. Sinful. Hoarding your resources, hoarding your money, hoarding what you have. Sinful. It is sinful. Okay. So is money sinful? No, money's not sinful. Greed is sinful. Okay, so we talk about financial literacy on this channel all the time, just like we talk about music and media, culture, sexual desire, conflict, talk about all these different things, okay? And so we have to understand the difference. Money is a terrible, terrible master, but a great servant. You could put money to use. You could plant churches, you could build hospitals, you could do all kinds of cool stuff with money that help people, okay? You need resource. However, not all of it is always greedy, but greed is always sinful. Is this making sense? Hopefully this is making sense. I just want to put this out there. Another one, alcohol. Alcohol in and of itself is not sinful. Drunkenness is sinful. Okay, by the way, I don't drink alcohol. So when you guys start saying, Ruslan, do you think there's any absolute sin? Yes, here they are, right here. All of these, bad. These are bad. Don't do these. Don't do these. The ones next to them, you got to use wisdom. You got to use discretion. You got to think through it. Should you be listening to Crazy in Love in that season? Or is Crazy in Love going to make you triggered back to when you was crazy in love for that dude that you shouldn't been talking to, and now you're all in your feelings? Okay, maybe you shouldn't listen to Crazy in Love. That's not what Crazy in Love does to me. Crazy in Love does to me makes me think about how I'm crazy in love with my wife, and we be dancing at weddings all the time. It's fantastic. You should dance too. It's great for you. Burns calories. If you're enjoying this video, give it a like, please, for the YouTube algorithm. That really helps out. Now, let's get into some of the more dicey stuff. Okay, identity, quote unquote wokeness, what have you. Okay, my identity, my primary identity, how I view myself, how I identify is that my identity is in Christ. Galatians says there's neither male nor female, there's neither slave nor free, there's neither Jew nor Gentile. Okay, my identity first and foremost is in Jesus Christ. That is the primary lens. That is the top tier thing over me, is that my identity is in Christ Jesus, first and foremost. Hopefully that's clear. Hopefully that comes across through the content of this video, okay? And through the content of all my videos, that ultimately what I want to lead with and be known by is Jesus and my allegiance to being a follower of Jesus, okay? Now, my lineage is an interesting one. You guys may not know this. I'm Armenian, okay? Armenians come from a lineage of genocide, the genocide of 1915 by the Turks that was just recently recognized by the United States as an official genocide. Goes all the way back to the Ottoman Empire. And one of the reasons why I'm in America is going back to this genocide in 1915 against the Armenian people. My dad is Armenian. If you were to meet my dad, I know I'm fair-skinned, I'm white. You guys see me and you think Ruslan's just a Caucasian man. Well, I'm Armenian, okay? Some of you guys may not know that. My mother's adopted. We don't know what her ethnicity is. I'm actually doing my 23andMe DNA test right now in the process. Okay, so you have to understand something about me, that my identity is in Christ. However, I'm also coming from a lineage of genocide. Okay, that's like a real thing. Like, really go look it up and you'll realize, holy smokes, like that was pretty savage. It was so savage that it even inspired the genocide that Hitler committed against the Jewish people. We were in Azerbaijan, which is a predominantly Muslim country, and we had to change our last name. My last name was originally Savalian, okay? That's a more traditional Armenian last name. My last name now, my government name is Karaoglanov. So I come from a lineage of genocide and having to change our identity to fit in to a culture that was not built for us and by us, okay? So again, this is why me and my family are out here. I'm a survivor of sexual assault. I was assaulted as a child. I'm a survivor of being molested multiple times. So that's going to play into my story. That's going to play into the way I cover content. I'm going to understand what it's like to say, hey, someone did this against me. However, no one believes me. No one believes me in this situation. If I'm these things, who do you think I'm going to have a heart for? I'm going to have a heart for other people that come from lineages of genocide. I'm going to have a heart for people who had to take on the last names of their oppressors. I'm going to have a heart for people that were survivors of sexual assault. I'm going to be empathetic of that because I understand what that can do multi-generationally to a people. That's going to be my paradigm. I can't help it. It is what it is. This is who I am. Okay. So in that, I'm a creative. I'm emotional. I'm highly expressive. I like to share things through media and through music. So that's going to play into it. And I'm ultimately an entrepreneur. Okay, so I'm both. I'm not just an artsy fartsy chasing butterflies guy. And I'm also not a hardcore brass tacks, ruthless capitalism guy. I'm both. I do both. I love the free market. I love the ability to own my own labor, to trade my own labor, to use my scarce skills, to sell products and help people. And I also am creative and I like creating things. Okay, so this is the paradigm that I'm coming from. What that means is this is going to be the paradigm that my videos are made from. Everyone's welcome here. But if these things and me identifying and saying, hey, you know, when women say that they've been assaulted, we should listen to them. I know you're gonna be like, oh, about the Me Too movement, okay? Hey, we should listen to them. Hey, you know when black people talk about this thing, slavery and Jim Crow and redlining and the war on drugs, hey, we should listen to them. Why? Because my people have been assaulted, because my people have had an act of genocide committed. We should really listen to people and not just think that, oh, well, they're just, you know, women are just making it all up because, you know, they're thoughts and, you know, groupies and they just wanna just let any man, and then when they change their mind, they're just, right, okay? I've had this kind of stuff said about me as a child. I've been molested as a child and then had people tell me, you made it up. As like a 7-year-old, okay? So I understand what it's like to not have anybody believe you. So I'm going to tend to side with the people who've gone through these things because it's a part of my own story. That is my identity, ultimately rooted in Christ, but this stuff is going to come out in the content. If that offends you, again, you're welcome here. But there's gonna be something said at some point that's probably gonna offend you. I have Cruz Broussard on. We talked about reparations for black people. That may offend you, but I'm inviting you into the conversation. Send in the hard questions you have on these issues. Straight up, send them in. We'll talk about it. If you're watching this and you're thinking, well, Ruslan just acknowledged that there's some form of structural racism or systemic or institutional issues that we could change, like how we fund public schools or more accountability for law enforcement. He said that, and he had Dr. Eric Mason on, and Chris Broussard was on here talking about reparations, and you then dismiss me as someone that's too woke. Okay, that's your prerogative, because I don't even know how you're using that word, right? Like, from my understanding, woke was always just a consciousness and an acknowledgement that America is not a perfect meritocracy. Most people agree with that. I was talking to one of my friends today who does amazing work in the prisons, the youth prisons of New York. And he has an incredible organization. I'm gonna be having him on. And so with that, we were talking about this and I was like, yeah, man, like, you know, he's a Republican conservative. And I started telling him like some of the criticism I get online. And I was like, people be thinking I'm too woke. He's like, you woke? Right? So this word woke means different things to different people. For some of you guys, if I'm not an anti-racist, I'm woke. I'm too woke. If I don't come out and make a video exposing critical race theory and how bad critical race theory, I'm too woke. I'm too woke. And hey, that's your prerogative, okay? That's your prerogative. If I'm not all out for Trump, I'm a liberal, loony Democrat, okay? So with that, just want to put the cards out there. If you're on here looking for the typical cliche Christian nonsense that we hear when it comes to politics, when it comes to Christians can't vote Democrat, all these different things, it's just probably not gonna work. This probably just isn't gonna work for you. I'm just keeping it a buck. If this was about me strictly doing it for subscribers, I would never talk about these issues. I would never bring on a Dr. Eric Mason. I would never bring on a Sho Baraka. I would never bring on a Chris Broussard to talk about reparations. I would never talk about these things. If this was about me, I'm doing my very best to have honest, meaningful, nuanced conversations for people that genuinely want to move to the middle. In the same way that Jesus stands in the middle, I want to move all of us to the middle so that we can have genuine, meaningful dialogue. If you're not about that, I respect. There's other channels for you. There's other channels. If you want to be known more by what you're against, or you're against critical race theory, you're against anti-racism, you're against the false teachers, you're against this, you're against that. Right? If you want to be known by more what you're against, respect. Okay, this probably isn't the channel for you. Go subscribe to Spencer Smith. You'll probably love his videos. He does a funny job of calling out every false teacher under the sun. Go watch Heresy Hunters. This probably isn't gonna work for you. I'm just keeping it a buck. When it comes to politics, I voted every side along the aisle. I voted Democrat, voted for Obama. I voted Libertarian. I was a Bush guy in 2004. And when it comes to the recall of Governor Newsom, who I am not a fan of, who's a Democrat, I'm probably going to vote Democrat again, potentially voting for Meet Kevin. Okay. And if you don't know who Meet Kevin is, he's a centrist, really, but he's the only one running as a Democrat against a Democrat. I'll probably vote for him, not because I want to kill babies, right? Again, it's like if you're not willing to have these conversations and you think that there's no way that there could be someone that is a Christian that happens to vote Democrat, this probably is not going to be the channel for you. You do with that what you will. I'm not mad. I'm like, every time I hit a different threshold on YouTube, I have a guest on and it scares away a certain demographic, scares away the fundamentalists, scares away the legalists, scares away the anti-racist folks. And I'm okay with that. Like, this really isn't about subscribers. If this was about money and subscribers for me, I would make the same vanilla videos and answer the same questions that other Christian YouTube channels answer. I'm not about that. I really feel like this is something that we can have meaningful dialogue on. And I'm going to close with this. All of this should drive us to a place of focus. What do you want to focus your attention on? Do you want to be a Christian that is known by what they're for, or do you want to be known by as a Christian by the things you're against? That's on you. Okay, that's on you. If you want to be I'm anti-LGBTQ, anti-racist, anti-Democrat, anti-woke snowflake, anti-this, anti-that. If you want to be known and that's what you want to lead with, cool, man. Respect. Here's an alternative. Philippians 4, verse 8. Okay? Finally, brothers and sisters, whatever is true, whatever is noble, whatever is right, whatever is pure, whatever is lovely, whatever is admirable, if anything is excellent or praiseworthy, think about such things. I want to be the type of Christian that's known by the things I'm for. I want to help inspire a generation of Christians that are tired with the shenanigans and be known by the things that we're for. Okay? Not by the things we're just against. That's how historically we've been viewed by the world. Okay? There are some times when the world is definitely hostile against the things of God. And there are other times that the world is hostile against the representatives of God. I'm willing to answer any single question you have for me. What I don't want to do is consistently keep rehashing the same issues. Here's the deal. I'm going to bring on guests I disagree with. I'm going to bring on guests you disagree with. If that's too much for you, respect, man. I am A-okay with that. I'm really not offended by that. Tomorrow, we're going to have Chris Broussard on again. We're going to talk sports. We're going to talk about all these different things that are happening in sports. But listen, tomorrow, we're going to talk about reparations some more. It makes some of you guys uncomfortable. It makes some of you guys freak out because you haven't really sat down and genuinely given the conversation an honest ear. If you're willing to give something an honest ear, man, we could talk all day long. If it's not for you, respect, man. Spencer Smith would love your subscribers. There's all kinds of anti-racist on YouTube. Respect. I'm not mad. It's not about me. It's not about numbers. Okay, if this was about money, I'd be doing something else. Okay, so hopefully this is straightforward. Hey, go check out my brothers KB and Amin. The people I'm bringing on, I'm not saying that Marxists don't exist. I'm not saying cultural Marxism doesn't exist. I'm not talking about any of that stuff. What I'm saying is the people I have on my platforms are not Marxist, are not cultural Marxist, are not about equal outcome. And I'm not going to back down from having these conversations because you're uncomfortable, because you read some Hegelian thought in some book somewhere from some leftists, and now you think that you have all the answers. If you truly want to deep dive, I'm giving you resources. I'm giving you Christians, capitalistic, socially conservative Christians. You can now, that's pinned up in the chat, that you can now go and watch and read about. I'll give you additional resources. What this is going to come down to is the definitions. What definitions are we talking about? What I care about is truth. So as a Christian, if you're going to inflate something, conflate meanings and definitions and try to ponder it off as true, that's disingenuous. That's not honest. That's not truthful. We're supposed to be people of truth. CRT is not a religion, a tool, just like psychology is a tool, just like the Enneagram. If your psychologist tells you something that's against scripture, you know what we do? We tell our psychologist, no, you're wrong. When CRT says something that's wrong or alludes that all white people are racist or whatever nonsense that some critical race theorists may say, we say, no, that's wrong. All white people aren't racist. That's nonsense. Meritocracy is white supremacy. Nonsense. Nuclear family is white supremacy. Nonsense. All of this I've said openly in my conversations with black leaders who've all agreed with me. Anyway, I gotta go. This was festive. All right.
Kingstream Entertainment. Ruslan.
Thank you so much for making it to the end of this video. If you found it valuable, please consider giving it a like and subscribing. You can check out one of the other videos related to this that'll be over here. Now, I gotta tell you about a free training I have for anyone that is an entrepreneur, a creative, an artist, but maybe you are unsure on how to find your voice, how to find your niche. I have a free training in the description of this video. Check it out. Once again, thank you so much for watching. I appreciate you, and I will see you on the next video.